Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad that you're here. Doing something a little bit different today. I'm actually going to do a compilation of 3 ladies that were accused of witchcraft or accused of being a vampire. Yeah, we have a vampire in this story. I really think you guys are going to like it. They are about witches, just little short stories on ones that kind of get hidden away in the cracks that we don't hear about, that we don't have much information on. So I've made a compilation and I hope you guys enjoy it. What I do here is I give you the dark history on witches, and sometimes I also do Native American culture as well. But I mostly do witches, and at the same time I put some makeup on my face. And if you want to know what I'm using, I will put it down below. But other than that, that's what I do here. So if that sounds awesome to you, if you like a really dark history and you like witches, this is definitely the place for you. So let's go on ahead and get started with our first witch of today. And I really hope that you guys enjoyed this because I really enjoyed researching it. So let's go ahead and get this party started. Our first witch of the day is Michee Chauderon. Yeah, Michee Chauderon. What did I do with my other clip? Ah, found it. So yes, we're doing Michee Chauderon today. She died in 1652. So of course this is during the time where the witch panic thing and everything was going nuts, okay? Now, she was actually the last person to be put to death for witchcraft in Geneva, okay? So we're in Geneva during this story, and our girl Michee, I want to say it's Michee, because it's got a little on the top. But our girl Michee, she was a washer. Yeah, she washed clothes and stuff like that for people. And she had an argument with one of her employers. Now this employer, I don't know the name of the wash place that she worked at or anything like that, but they accused her of theft and then reported, for some reason, I think they had it in for y'all, it was actually reported that she put a demon on her employer's child, supposedly. I guess you could say she possessed her. I don't know. We don't have much information on this one, like I say. But they do end up taking her in and arresting her, of course, and interrogated. And of course, being interrogated means what? Being tortured. Yeah. So she was tortured by way of a strapito. But before they did that, and I'll tell you what that is in just a second, what the strapito is. I know it sounds a little kinky, but it's not. Definitely not. They found the devil's mark supposedly on her back, which could be like a mole, like we talked about last week. They have one right there, one right there. We got moles. Everybody's got marks somewhere on their body. And that was a coffin nail, basically, for any woman back then. If you had any kind of mark on you, that was the mark of the devil, supposedly. So, there we go with that. Now, the strapito she's tortured on, this is a thing where they bind their hands together. And, of course, I imagine they bind their feet together as well. But they hang them from this really, really tall, they have to climb up a ladder to get there, and then they hang them by their wrists, either upside down or somehow or another, and I'll put a picture up. But they would hang them like this, and when they added pressure, it would dislocate the joints of the shoulders. Yeah, so much pain, just immense amounts of pain. So because she was, under torture, what does she do? She ends up telling people some stuff that the devil did. Yeah, of course. Because it just would not be if you didn't torture, and get a fake confession. But anyway, during her torture, she said that she met with the devil in her garden. He was in the shape of a black man with crow feet. Okay, it's pretty specific. I can imagine the things that people would come up with to say just so that the torture would stop. You feel me? Like, point blank period. And so supposedly this devil promised her wealth in exchange for her denouncing God. Okay, this is what she said, but of course she did this under duress, as we know. And anyway, so he promised her wealth and all this shit, and said that, yeah, she did do that. She's like, yeah, I did that. I made a thing with the devil or whatnot, and blah 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 blah. And so they got really pissed about it. They actually convicted her of sorcery, which I did some research on another story I was going to do today, but then I wanted to do the compilation first. Yeah, I wanted to do the compilation first, but we're going to talk about that next week, actually, as a matter of fact, about how sorcery and this one trial was majority of men. Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. So that's going to be in just a few days. So like during this time in Geneva from 1520 to 1681, they put 340 people on trial for witchcraft or sorcery. Okay, and 150 were executed, and thus our girl here, Michee, being the last one that was convicted of sorcery and sentenced to being hung and then burned, of course. So, but she was the last, because after this, of course, people realized you've got to have more evidence than somebody just saying I found a mark on her back and torturing somebody, because anybody that's being tortured, we all know they're going to say whatever they can to get out of it. So anyway, that is the story of Michee. Let's go on to the next one. So our next witch is named Anna Goldi. Yep. And she actually has a little bit of a background, so that's good. She was born on October 24th of 1734. She died June 13th of 1782. And her background, she was one of 8 kids, so you can imagine she's in a household full of folks all the time. And she's totally loving it or whatever. And so she became a domestic servant by the time she was 18 years old. Now she takes a job up at the rectory as, of course, like a maid servant, domestic servant or whatnot. From 1762 to 1765, she worked at this rectory. Well, there was a guy that was a mercenary, that came around. And this mercenary guy, we don't know if this was by force or what, but we know that he impregnated Anna. This mercenary ends up, of course, skipping town before Anna gives birth. And, she is pregnant, has the baby. But unfortunately, during this time, there's a really high infant mortality thing during this time for some reason. So when she had her baby, the baby died within like a day. Like it doesn't say what was wrong with the baby or anything like that. It just says that the baby died, and that for some reason during that time in Switzerland, we're in Switzerland, because the reason why Anna is famous is because she was the last person executed for witchcraft in Switzerland. So we have another last, thank God. So she got impregnated by this guy. She has the baby, but the baby dies, And guess what? Not only do you have to deal with the fact that your baby just died, people start saying she actually murdered her own kid. Yeah, they did. And she actually got arrested for basically, supposedly murdering her own child, her baby, who only lived for a day. You can imagine you carry something like that in your body for 9 months, and then you're waiting for this day, and you can't wait to see how they grow up and what they look like and all this, and they only live for a day. It's devastation, point blank devastation. So what they ended up doing to her was they pilloried her. And if you guys saw in my torture video, the pillory is when they, you have the hands and the head, and then the wooden thing goes over like that. It's more of humiliation than torture. And then they say that she has to stay, she's on house arrest for 6 years. Okay, this is for supposedly killing her own baby. Like, they have no proof of this whatsoever, at least not that I could find. That, yeah, she did this, blah, blah, blah. And so, but after like 2 years, she actually escapes, okay? And she's still in Switzerland, and she gets a job with these people called the Zwickies? Yeah, it's really hard for me to say names, I'm sorry. She gets a job with the Zwicky family in Mollis, Switzerland, where she worked from 1768 to 1775. She got impregnated by the son of her employer, okay, named Johann Zawicki, and they were not married, so this was not a good thing, okay? So then I guess they kind of pushed her out of that house and kind of sent her to another relative of theirs, to a doctor named Johann, another Johann Zawiski. He has a middle name that I cannot pronounce for the life of me. But this doctor guy ends up getting this weird infatuation with Anna. Like, he's making like all these weird like sexual innuendos to her, and Lord have mercy on my soul. She's just there to take care of his 5 daughters, okay? Because evidently this man was not married. He probably lost his wife, maybe in childbirth. We don't know. So her employer, like I say, this doctor guy, decides, he's gonna advances on her because, back then they did whatever they wanted to. So she filed a complaint. Very, very smart for the time. That's incredibly smart for this time, and I'll tell you, I did not see that coming whatsoever, and I think that's awesome. So she reported this harassment and / possible R word to the cantonal religious and judicial departments, and was saying, hey, this happened, blah blah blah, yada yada yada. And so the only issue was, there was a man among this crowd of people that she was telling this story to, okay, and his name was Jacob. Oh Lord, we're gonna call him Jacob. I can't say his last name, and if I say it wrong, I feel like I'm gonna really hurt somebody's feelings. So Jacob started making accusations at Anna, okay, and now Anna as soon as she started hearing these accusations, this is like ding, 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 bells going off, right? She's like, holy shit, this has happened to me before. I'm bouncing out before I'm punished in any way, shape, or form. Like, she's like, I'm out, I'm bouncing. So even though that she was supposed to be arrested, she left. And it wasn't, and I don't feel like it was because she was guilty of anything. I feel like it was because she was scared, because she already had been through supposedly a trial before, where she was pillared, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, this poor chick, she goes on the run. But the accusation is that supposedly she had put needles in the bread and milk of this guy's daughter by supernatural means. Yeah. Supernatural means. Yeah, it was magic, and all of a sudden those things just appeared in there. You know what I mean? Like, I am just mind blown. So she escapes, but they put a reward out for her, and it's not too long that they end up finding her. They captured her on February 9th, 1782. Of course, she was arrested, and she was then tortured, of course. So what did she say? What did she say for her torture, you ask? She goes, I had a pact with the devil, and he came to me as a black dog. Yeah. Why's it always gotta be black? I love black. It's like one of my favorite colors. And she said she made a pact with him, basically. and that he appeared, like I say, as a black dog. Well, this was enough for these guys. That was enough. And so, but guess what? After they got finished torturing her to get that out of her, to get that weird story out of her, she's like, after they get done torturing her, she's like, okay, I'm taking it all back. Yeah, I didn't say any of that. That didn't happen. Like, I did not make a pact with the devil. I'm only saying these things because you tortured me. You know what I mean? Like, so she took it back, man. So she was sentenced to execution anyway. Yeah, she was. She was sentenced to an execution. And they said she was execution by decapitation, and then, of course, burning the body. And even though they did not say she was doing witchcraft, though, that's what's weird about this trial. They weren't like, this is a witch trial. They basically charged her with poisoning. Yeah, there's nothing in the story about her poisoning anybody, right? I guess poisoning without, they say poisoning without the intent of being harmful, which was not punishable by death back then. So they've erased a lot of the records from this story as well, because it looks like a witch trial, straight up. Because the guy says the stuff appears there by supernatural means. Didn't say she walked in his house, came to his house and said, hey, I made this bread, and I got this fresh milk from a cow and I just wanted to share it with my neighbor, No, it wasn't like that at all. It's just bonkers to me. So, but that's the story of Anna Goldi, unfortunately. She does get exonerated, though, by the same freaking people that said that she would, that condemned her. But they exonerated her in 2008. It was not that long ago, okay? It may seem like a long time to y'all, but it's really not that long ago. All right, so on to the next story. This is a good one. This next one, y'all, I vibe with like hardcore. I am not even lying. Like, just everything about her is just, she was so carefree. And they say that she was the Amazonian vampire. Yeah, the Amazonian vampire. And her name is Camille, okay? Camille Monfort. Now, Camille grew up in a family that was very, very rich. Her dad was like a French aristocrat, and her mother was all up in French society, and she did all these things. So the French aristocrat with ties like to the royal family and all this other kind of stuff. So she had brothers. She was the only daughter. She was absolutely beautiful, this girl. Oh my gosh, she's so pretty. And she was blessed with something absolutely amazing, and that is a voice. She could sing opera. She was an opera singer, and she sang so beautifully. Like, some people like faint and pass out, and like they were just like so enamored with her. She had a very pale complexion. She only liked to go out at night. I don't vibe with the pale complexion because I can never really be pale, but I was always a night person. So she's very beautiful. Like I say, her voice drew the attention of men and women alike, but these men were wealthy. And of course they had wives that would get pissed about this, pissed about them hanging out and being around this woman, but she was so vivacious and so full of life. So a little background, like I say, she was born in 1869 in France, but they ended up moving to Brazil in 1876, her and her family, okay? She's very privileged, very educated, but when they got to Brazil, she did not really know what to do. But she had a governess that taught her the customs of the time and all that kind of stuff. And, to make sure that she knew that, in Brazil, things were different. The culture was different. So she got to learn the history and the culture of Brazil. Now, Camille never got married, Okay, she's independent as you can possibly get. With her long hair, beautiful and commanding presence that she had, she was admired for her free spirit and her independence. And she lived by her own rules. That's how I vibe with this chick so hard. So in 1896, the country she was living in got a really huge boom because they started to sell Amazonian rubber. And so the farmers and stuff and everybody kind of got rich like quick overnight, you know? And so there were people coming from like everywhere to kind of take advantage of this rubber selling situation or whatnot. And so because it became so crowded and stuff over there, Camille would just go out in the street and start singing her opera, her beautiful voice that she had. She would start singing and people just like, I mean, they said that some people were like in trances and stuff like that, like from her voice. I just think that's absolutely amazing. Some of her behavior obviously was a little bit unconventional at the time. She would like to dance half naked in the street when it was raining. Now, I personally see no problem dancing naked in the rain, okay? It sounds like the most awesome time ever. Just saying. But for back then, that was not a good thing for you to do, even if you are in Brazil. So, of course, the rumors start up. They start up about her being such a free spirit. Maybe she's a little too free. You feel what I mean? Not a fan of that because I feel like she was totally awesome. You know what I mean? That's just what I'm saying. So people, of course, started pointing fingers at her and saying that she always was very pale and had like a sickly looking appearance, and then she had that really dark long hair, and she was like 5'5", you know, she's very petite, very small, but they always saw her as incredibly pale. I guess she just had really pale skin, and because of this, everybody thought that she was affected by vampirism. Okay, I thought she was a freaking vampire. Yeah, they were like, yep, she's a vampire. That's why her skin's so light and her hair's so dark, and she loves being out at night, and she does all this weird stuff like dancing in the rain. You know, like what's wrong with that? But you know, I digress. Where we are. So they say that she supposedly brought a curse on the Amazon. Yeah, supposedly she cursed the Amazon, but as we find out, that's not true. This is just stuff that people started to make up, of course, because that's what they do. And she ends up getting put in the middle of it, right? So during her concerts, her voice, like I say, would trance, and they said that during these trances, she would take advantage of these people by like leading them to her dressing room and like feeding off of them. You know what I mean? Like a little snacky snack, before her performance. Like, I don't think so. So not only would she supposedly take people to her dressing room and feed off of them, she was also rumored to, and this is why I kind of picked this story up, she was rumored to talk with spirits and to hold seances. Okay, these are rumors. We're not very sure if they're absolutely 100% true, but we do know that seances were a thing there for a while, and knowing her vivaciousness and things like that and her ability to attract a crowd, it wouldn't surprise me if she did hold seances. But they said that she could talk, that she was like a medium, and that she could talk to the dead and to everybody else. She, you know, just made her a vampire, I guess. Yeah. And so even though she didn't really harm anybody or anything like that, you know, but the weird thing is, in this town in 1896, there was a cholera outbreak. And they say that that's how she died. So this is not like one of those things where she was tortured or anything like that, no. But, there's always a but. They're saying that her tomb is empty. People say that the cholera outbreak was an excuse for her to supposedly die. But she is not, because she's obviously, supposedly, a vampire. And so they're saying that no, she's not dead. Like, her crypt is empty. You know what I mean? And she is, there's actually a crypt for her in the Cemetery of Solitude. It's under this beautiful, huge mango tree. It's covered in moss and dry leaves and things like that. But there's a really like big lock on the door of her tomb, I guess, to make sure she can't get out. You know what I mean? I love the paranoia. The paranoia is so real, but for back then, you know what I mean? Like, these people were so freaking paranoid. And then on her little thing, it says, quote unquote, on her headstone, "Here lies Camilla Maria Monfort, the voice that captivated the world." Yeah, she had such an amazing voice. She really did. And so everybody now thinks that she is living in Europe and doing her own thing, and that she is still alive. Yes, that's the word around town, that she's still alive and that her crypt is empty. Even though I wonder if anybody's cracked it open to give it a look-see. But they say there's a lock on the door, so you can't really even go in. You feel me? And so, yeah, now we've got an empty tomb, supposedly an empty tomb. You know what I mean? It's not. I don't think so. I don't think so. So we have three ladies, excuse me, two ladies that got killed in trial, and then, of course, our other lady died supposedly during cholera, if you can believe the locals around there saying that she never died, that she's still around in Europe, you know, being our vampire self, which I think is freaking sweet. And, you know, some of these stories make me sad. It's just well, how can just one person say something like that man saying that Anna put needles and stuff like that and pins in the bread and milk supernaturally? It makes me feel like that dude was putting needles and stuff in the food at his house to maybe not have kids anymore. I mean, I'm just saying, because that kind of stuff don't just magically appear, you know. And then for this other lady that everybody thought that she was a vampire just because she was beautiful. She had unique skin, beautiful hair. She was 5'8". She had a voice. If anything, I feel like she's a siren. Yeah, like straight up. I feel like she was a siren, the vampire. I really hope you guys like this video, this compilation of witches. Just because there's not that much information on them doesn't mean they shouldn't be mentioned, you know. Because it just goes to show you the unfairness against women back in the day, and how easy it was for somebody to just point a finger and say, okay, that's a witch. And then, of course, if you torture anybody, they're going to say anything. You know, luckily, our last girl was not tortured, but they say, you know, that she had so much, she was a medium as well, you know, and they say that she had the ectoplasm that would emit from her body during her seances. Of course, these are just rumors, but you got to think that during the times, she might have held seances. We don't know, you know. That was a cool thing to do back then. And she had like I say, the vibrance, the vibe to be able to do that, you know. So anyway, that's the story, our compilation of witches for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I really enjoyed researching it. And if you don't mind, give my channel a follow if you like stories like these, because I do this twice a week. So anyway, if nobody's told you today, I love you, and have a great week.